strange new form of.
Welcome to Albion TV presents the AO Daily Show, your source of real news and keeping you up to date on the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Wednesday, the 20th of November, and I'm your host, Shozen. And with me today is my co-host, Bogul. How are you doing today, sir?
Hello, hello. I'm doing quite okay. Wait, I have to do something. 1 second. Okay, it didn't make a bad sound. All right. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's do this. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, that was the question I asked you, and you said, hold on, I have to do something. I'm assuming that you are doing great now that you did whatever it is that you needed to get done.
My mic.
So let's get on
almost
with the
fell
show.
down.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that is a catastrophe averted. All right. But we have some news, a little bit of PSAs, some official things to get out of the way before we tackle the bulk of today's show, which will be a look at the last 3 days, the first 3 days of the season, and comparing it to the first 3 days of last season. Because we noticed some things that kind of stuck out.
Season.
Yeah,
Okay.
season 7. Like comparing season 7, the beginning of season 7, with the, I don't know, beginning of the Avalonian invasion season. Avalonian. God. All right. But first, Bogle, we have that emote contest.
Still, I think we
Yes.
will have that for a while.
We're
Are we
gonna- it's
just
gonna take a
plugging
while.
this every single episode like 4 times now until we have enough?
Until we get enough emotes, because people love the emotes. We've already got people using the raffle emote. We had our first one into the in the pool, finally accepted. It finally worked. Yay, we have one that works. It's good. And if you're a person who likes to raffle all the time, or remind me to pull the raffle, or remind me that we don't have a raffle going, or one of a number of reasons to show a raffle ticket, you might want that. But you don't need to sub for
It's
any other
free
reason than to get the
anyways.
motes. Other show is free. We're gonna still be here whether you sub or not, and I don't know. It's just cute to have. All right. Moving on
You can
from
get
the-
it by typing Albion Raffle. There you go. Some of you have already been using it. Looks pretty cool. And
Oh, yeah.
again, thank you to Dran68, right?
Yeah, I just checked up on his premium and made sure that it's in the works. It's in the works. It's happening.
Cool.
But we also have some community news. Over the weekend, Albion News 24 did 2 classes, like public classes on how to do things. And they had one, I believe, healing with Lissy Tank, and another one, shot calling with Duratine. So,
What is Albion News 24 and what are public classes?
all right. So Albion News 24 is a news station that is also a Twitch show. Once a week, they generally do a news show with multiple members from the community, led by Voltel, the GM of Brave Vanguard. He is a former EVE player who was fairly known over there and decided to come retire in Albion. And he decided he wanted to be a newsman so that he could hear all the good stories, but not necessarily be in the middle of all the good stories, because I think he found that to be a little bit too much over in EVE. So now he just wants to report on it. And the first step he did was, did the show. There's been many of them, but now he's trying to get classes out for people to help people who are not good at things get better at them.
Nice.
Ta-da!
Two comments there. One, if you are a newsman, aren't you the guy influencing the opinion? And the second one, I watched some of these. I'll bring it up on the screen. I tried to watch, quote unquote, some of these classes.
You tried to watch?
Well,
tried to watch.
Look what happens if I click play.
On
the screen, it just
blackness.
Yeah, it's sound. It's an hour of sound. Later on, this image appears.
Okay.
But it's an audio class that it's apparently about healing and shot calling. Did you listen to them?
Well, no.
Oh, so we don't even know. Oh,
I know they're good because they are Lissy Tank and Duratine, and both of those guys know what they're talking about in those two particular areas. Lissy
Ah.
Tank way more than Duratine, but Duratine is more than capable of explaining the basics of shot calling. He's not a terrible shot caller. He's done it for many years, and he's helped out some very good teams. But Lissy Tank is one of the best healers in the game, hands down. And if he can give you like tips on how to do that to get better, you should take the time to listen. And Duratine, you should listen to it. Maybe you'll learn how Duratine shot calls.
Yes.
He's like, shots fired. I'm coming after you, boy. This isn't acceptable. He's coming after me. For new players, Duratine teaching you how to shot call would be very helpful. If, say, a high level group that wanting to learn how to shot call, they shouldn't do that. They should know better by now.
Mm-hmm. Community news, yes. We wanted to plug these too because we think it's cool to have some sort of content that is almost like a lecture series, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it
Yes.
has like these 101 suffixes, which is lingo for classes, right? The
Yeah, and
base
I hope it's
level.
the first one. I hope it's the first one. Like I would love it if Duratine like gets mad and says, "What do you mean they're not good? I'm gonna do these things are gonna be the best ZVZ classes you've ever heard, noob." And then maybe it'll be 5 of them, and really teach you the finer points of screaming north, north, north.
All right. Yeah, I will. If you have listened to them chat, by the way, let us know what you think. We were asked to plug them, and we are happy to plug them for everybody. That's the general thing we have here on the show. If you want your content showcased, send us a message, and we will try to get it in and get it out there.
Yes, but now we have our content, Bogle. Now we have the bulk of today's show. Let's bring up some pictures, Bogle. Let's start comparing the number of GVGs that happened last season to this season so people can see that it's basically the same.
Wait, already? Okay. So last season,
It's
season
time.
7. This season, Avalonian invasion season.
Avalonian invasion season.
Snail season.
Snail season. Duck season. Snail season. Duck season. Snail season. Snail season.
What are we going to show on the screen? Because I think you need to explain it a little more before I show it, so people
All right.
have a
So
better
Bogle
idea.
and I have been tracking the GVGs and Crystal GVGs since season 7. Since before season 7, we have some data.
Mhm.
And what we've tried to do is get all the attackers, all the defenders, find out who won what, and find out how many GVGs and Crystal GVGs people participated in.
Mhm.
That's more important than who won to us. We really just want to know who participated and how many to get an idea of where everybody falls. Like, what's the activity numbers? What's the activity of the season? So last season, we saw that there were a few guilds who participated more than everybody else. And the longer the season went on, they became more and more focus of all GVGs and Crystal GVGs. And eventually we had a situation where Money Guild had 3 times as many as number 3, and June had 2 times as many as number 3. And they were just so far out ahead of everybody else as far as, participation, that it really didn't seem like there was ever any chance of anybody ever catching up. We've seen something different this time. What was kind of a clustered grouping before has completely changed. Now, while we only have, okay, now this is going to sound strict, we only have 7 more matches this season than last season when we look at GVGs. That in and of itself seems to be a bit of a shock to me because, there's more GVGs this season than last season. That kind of seems shocking. I kind of like, I felt like people were going to kind of take a little bit of a break. This Frontier is trying to trade me something. He's probably trying to give away something on stream again. Another event.
Yeah, but we were curious as to.
Sorry, I'm getting poked. Yeah. You want to say something? Go ahead. I'll let you
I was
finish.
just saying that we wanted to keep on keeping the records and sort of take a look again at how the crystals and the GVGs are developing, will develop. And we thought that the season started just a few days ago, 3 days, 4 days ago. And we wanted to take a brief comparison of just these first few days of the season now versus the season previously. And now you can see on the back of the screen here, it's a table that compares the most GVGs by guild. And on the left side on the table, you see the current Albion Invasion season, AIS, with the amount of attacks and defenses by various guilds, and then the sum in blue behind that. And on the right side, you see the first 3 days of season 7, with the amounts, again, attacks and defenses. The first thing that stands out is that the total amount of GVGs is sort of similar. So
Very similar. I mean, it barely went up at all. It's like 7 more GVGs, which is statistically barely calculable. I mean,
yeah. But still a tiny bit more. So we have about the same activity in GVGs, but then we started looking at names, and I think there you saw something different.
there we saw something. I mean, we're going to look at crystals in just a second. We're going to see another change in that as well. But in this, what we see is that Money Guild has just gone crazy with the number of GVGs it's doing right now. 25 attacks is a lot, guys. 25 attacks when the next highest number of attacks from a single guild is 8. And that's the aggressor Guerreros guild, so you expect them to get a lot of punching done. But Money Guild has 25. They attacked everybody. When we looked, I looked at the names of this, and they attacked, what was it, 8 different guilds was what I found. 8 different guilds
Maybe
they attacked.
even more, yeah. We looked down the list and tried to figure out who Money Guild is attacking, but then we found out that they're basically attacking everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. Anybody near them. I wanted to say, they're it's like they woke up after, not sleeping for 3 days and needed to, just lash out a little bit. They needed to get something out. And they have. They took a little bit of a break. And wait, Money Guild didn't even take a break, did it? Now that I'm thinking about it, they attacked everybody's home plots like mad over the break, didn't they? And then they just decided we're going to come out in force for the season. 25 GVG attacks, 4 defenses, not to mention like how many like crystals did they have? They also were number 1 in crystals with 25 crystals. So they have 54 matches overall, total fights, 5v5s in 3 days. That's 18 5v5s a day. Now, it could either be a situation where it's one group going hardcore every day, all day, but it's not, because we've seen Money Guild. They have like 4 or 5 GVG teams. They've created a whole guild of GVGers now, and that's what they're doing. They're just doing GVGs, and it's really impressive, like that they're getting so many done compared to everybody else. It's just, it steps out. It's the most noticeable thing that we can see in this season. I'd like to, say, oh, things have changed and Money Guild's, not going to be in first place, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole new world in front of us. No, it seems to be the same situation we were in last time, where Money Guild comes out, takes control, and unless we see some mega alliance, it looks like right off the bat, Money Guild is going to walk away with this, because nobody can keep up with these numbers as far as GVGs. And if a week goes by, 2 weeks goes by with these kind of numbers activity-wise, Bogul, the points are going to start stacking up.
I mean, one thing that is important to keep in mind in this is that you have to look at the amount of territories the guys have. So if you want to judge activity just by numbers, you have to put that in relation to how many fights they can potentially have, because in theory, of course, as long as you have more territories than other guilds, then it's quote unquote easier to get more fights. So that's where some of these might come from. But a lot of these are attacks, and that's the interesting thing. So they are trying sort of to just declare on everybody and see what comes their way.
Yeah, it seems like they're just going after everybody, which was really impressive because, like, earlier in the offseason, Derek had said, if you show up to a fight, we're going to come crush you. We're just going to straight wreck you. Like, you defend somebody else, we're going to wreck you. You're going to be our new target. And it looks like they kind of held up on that end of the bargain, going after everybody. And right now, season points-wise, it's not terribly helpful for them as we have a bunch of newer names at the top of the list. Like, we have, if you just had to open just a moment ago with the top 5, it's War Gods, Error 404, Dynastia, Ecstasis, and Black Order. Now, Black Order we had seen before.
Are you looking at crystals, or are you looking at...
I'm looking at season rankings, the points for the Avalonian invasion season.
Oh, so in-game.
It's only 3 days in. Yeah, it's only 3 days in right now. But right off the bat, we've seen that War Gods kind of took an early lead. They're not terribly far ahead, but they do have 3,000 more than anybody else, and everybody else is kind of clustered around 8,000. I don't know how they did that. I have seen them a lot more active than we've ever seen them before, in that if you go down to, you look at your crystals, Bogle, and they showed up on that. They showed up on crystals. They have 10 on crystals, but it's not the kind that would bust you out in front. You know what I mean? It's not the kind that would, make you first place. They have 6 regular GVGs. 16 total matches isn't the kind of thing that's going to push you out. But mage rating, taking castles, that kind of thing is going to get season points.
I'm showing the amount of crystals now on the screen. There we have a slightly different picture. We again compare on the left the Avalonian season to the last season here. I will try to get these side by side a little bit later, but talk a little bit for now about crystals while I try to find the other image.
Well, okay. Well, if we look at the crystals, the big thing that hopped out once again is that Money Guild is doing so many of them. They're doing it's 9 more than they did this time last season, which is roughly 30% more. It's quite a bit. They're doing a lot of work, getting more 5v5 teams in place to do more work. It seems weird when we look at what the future holds for Albion Online and what Derek has done with his guild. The game is clearly going more into a direction of ZVZ, yet Derek is building a guild full of people who can 5v5. I think he understands that it's going to take 2 different things to really hold a good amount of strong territory coming season 8. You need to be able to, 1, take it in a ZVZ and hold it in a ZVZ. But just as important, maybe more important, is going to be winning those matches for your tower all the time, so that that tower is always growing and it always has the highest level. And I don't know for sure if that's going to be the way to win, but it seems like a good strategy, to be honest. I mean, there's nothing better than being able to know that you have a 20-man team that can take all the cities, because all 20 of them are highly competent, very strong GVGers who can read and react to spells in the 5v5 and the 20v20 situation. That creates a very strong backbone for a guild. And if he can take 2 or 3 cities and hold them for the next season, continue to pound out those towers, it puts them in a good place. And it really looks like they're working towards the idea of strong GVG teams. I can't talk, like anything negative about that. It's going to be interesting. Now, I see chat is saying that because they're an EU guild, they can focus more on crystals and get more crystals because they have more time zones available to them than the NA players, who really can't get there for a lot of the EU stuff because of, that they can't be there during the middle of their day. Whereas, EU players can stay up a little bit later and get those crystals in. But, I don't know how much that really contributes to it. I think you can, at this point, say, well, it's not about 5 people anymore, so we can make a guild that covers EU and NA. The guild itself can cover them instead of having to say, well, because we're EU, we just have better access to certain.
So are we able to make a prediction then already, or is that too premature? Because to me, always 3 days is a little early.
Well, I think we can clearly predict, as we've predicted every season, that Money Guild will compete for top spot.
Mhm.
Like they absolutely will be able to compete for the top spot, and I don't see any reason why they can't take it in this one. I don't think that War Gods or Arrow 404, or Dynastia or Ecstasis will be able to hold out against this sheer number of 5v5s that Money Guild is pumping out. Now, I could be wrong. Arrow 404 is right up there when it comes to crystals. They're doing the second most. They had like 20 or something, right? I don't have it right in front of me right now. Yeah, Arrow 404 had 20. That's 5 less than Money Guild. That's still more than anybody at this time last season. Ecstasis had a huge number as well, 14. That would have, put them in number 2 last season. They're doing a lot of work. The thing is that I feel like there's so much more being done by Money Guild. It's just putting them out to a huge lead. But I do want to give credit to these new people who've like the new to us guilds who've kind of like showed up on like the top list of activities. Like first we'll say Arrow 404, good work. Once again, you're very consistent. I mean, people want to give you crap for your double healer builds and GVGs, but you're doing a lot of GVGs and you have a strategy that works. It's working for you. I see no reason not to do it. I do think it's going to be harder with the new changes that are coming with the NDA changes to make it so that there's a time-based double healer sickness instead of a percentage base. That's going to be very tough for some of these builds. Also, I'm interested in seeing how that affects like city fights. It's going to be interesting. But Arrow 404, they're not new. They're not unknown. They're very consistent and have been, but they're pushing in a way that is newer. Like they have a high number of total GVGs, both GVGs and crystals, and they're getting a lot of points. They've, also managed to show up in the other point gaining areas such as mage rating. Dynastia, I don't know them at all, Bogle. These guys were new. We found them over in Anglia the other day, and we're like, what the heck? Who are these guys? Are they somebody we know? Is it made by somebody that we would recognize? I don't know. I've never heard of them.
I mean,
trying to
apparently
find out
it's
more
a
information.
Spanish guild.
Mhm.
Apparently, it's
Is it?
There we go. It's something we have to figure out. We didn't contact them yet. We know that some of the guys merged.
Well, we had Aggressor and Guerreros merge into the next guild I was going to talk about, Ecstasis, who's done nothing but like be badass since they formed. They're doing great in GVGs and Crystal GVGs, and they're out there open world on Invasion Day banging heads. A very aggressor type guild. Guerreros did very well as soon as they showed up, and then they combined with Aggressor completely. Aggressor is just one person now. It's just Skuzkabel holding the guild name. But yeah, Ecstasis is doing work. I'm very interested to see what they do going forward. I'd love to see a non-international guild really take hold and take control of the top place for once. I think that'd be interesting. The other non-international guild that has a shot at that is really Black Order. I mean, like Black Order, Shiro's guild, like I said, this is a shorter season. And to me, they have a shot. Whenever it's a little bit shorter and Shiro can say, this is the beginning, this is the end, let me do this, let me pound through this one, I think he has a shot. I really do. But when you get to rank 6 and you see that Money Guild's down there below, Money Guild being so active, I just go, forget it. It's all over. Money Guild, as soon as the points kick in for them, it's
like you
unless there's another coalition that forms to put them down, I think they have it.
Well, to me, it seems like for the last 10 minutes, you talked about Money Guild being already running away with this. And I want to caution this notion a little bit because I don't really share that sentiment. I mean, based on the action that we saw during the off season, and of course the action that we saw towards the beginning of season 7, there's all reason to believe that Money Guild, especially with a impressive start like this, can and could very well take away with all of this. That said, it's 3 days in, right? That's something I think we have to remind everybody about, that we are comparing the first 3 days of crystals and GVGs.
Yeah, it's only three. It's only 3 days. You're right.
And a lot of things can change, will change, should change. But it's good to see new names. It's good to see people we haven't had on the radar yet. And it's, I think, something we want to keep on doing, right? Report regularly on the crystals and GVGs, how they, at least in terms of numbers, progress over the season.
And there was a one thing I wanted to share. Just when you look at the sheer number of guilds that have participated in the first 3 days of season 7, I only have the totals for this for GVGs. I don't have it for crystals, because when it comes to crystals, I don't have the exact number of guilds who participated. I have the totals of participation, but not the guilds themselves that participated. But in regular GVGs, first 3 days, season 7, 53 guilds. In the last 3 days, 77 guilds have participated in GVGs.
Nice.
To me, that's a significant increase. And that's not counting the crystals, which I said, like, if you were there with me yesterday and you saw how many crystals there were
during
at
the
one
live
time.
show,
During the live show. That's a lot.
I think
when you have like 30
40-ish. Yeah, 30-ish. Do you remember how
Now,
many GVGs we had? Just
it was a full list, and I could not count past it. Like, I think it was 20 something. I cannot remember. I cannot remember. But it was my tool that I used to look for GVGs was full and couldn't give me more. Like, it couldn't tell me anything that was happening after that time period because it was full. And so there could have probably been more that I couldn't even see, but my tool doesn't expect that many to happen at one time. And it just doesn't have the programming in place to handle that. So
I mean, each of these have 10 players, right? So assuming, I don't know how many of these were full, can you tell? Or is it just the ones that are happening and we assume, or does it include no-shows and stuff? So we would have
for regular GVGs includes no-shows. My stats for regular GVGs does include no-shows, but it's just, these are the ones that had some kind of participation factor. Like they either participated on Invasion Day and took a territory and lost it, in the last 3 days to not showing up, which is still a higher level of participation than we had before overall. Because last season, remember, there were, what is that? 24 less guilds that participated. That's significant. That's a significant number more this season, in a season that people kind of anticipated would have a low activity level. Like, we've kind of talked about this, that this might be a lower activity level. It's an event season. People aren't really thrilled with the rewards. People are kind of getting ready for season 8. They're really excited for the big Queen patch. So the level of anticipation that we had for the season was a little bit lower. But what we're seeing is that there's just a higher level of activity, whether it's through regular GVGs or through crystals, because our crystal activity is higher. We looked at the numbers, Bogul. We have, now we might be off a little bit on this, but what did we have? We had 298 so far in 3 days, compared to 240 in the first 3 days of last season. That's just more.
I mean, to me, it's a nice start. It's good to see. It's nice to see some of this data that you can actually get by yourself, by the way. The thing I did, or that we did here to get this, is we looked at the official kill board. And if you go to the Albion website, and then just go to the killboard. Then you can filter for the matches that you had. Here matches, GVG, and then you can just look through them, and then with some spreadsheet magic and copy pasting a bunch of these, you can do that. There's also the way of queuing or querying the API to get this information. But that's public if you want to do your own research, by the way. And there's also the crystal data that's new on there. So there's we just sort of put these together, and because we are curious to see what the season holds and compare it to last season. And yeah, to me, to sum this up a little bit, is that we see some of the favorites that we have last season come back. We see some of the strong contenders probably trying it again, right? And that the numbers seem to be doing all right so far.
Absolutely. The biggest thing that sticks out to me is that we've had an uptick in activity, even though I kind of expected a slight downtick. When I saw those first crystals, I was like, whoa, this is something else. And I'm hoping it's because just like newer players are getting involved as this goes on and on and on, that more players are just getting involved. And that's what's happening, not a dilution diluting of strength at the top, but instead it's a growing of strength at the bottom, and even the mid levels rise up. And so as the mid levels rise up, get stronger and more secure, they start to do more crystals. As they do more crystals and get better at GVGing in general, they start to move into the Outlands. Now, I don't know what's going to happen next season when it's all by ZVZ to get territory, but I expect these numbers to get higher as well. Not the GVGs, of course, because that'll be different and completely done in many ways for territory control. But the crystals are going to go up. I imagine that a lot of the GVGing that was done will be transferred over to crystals, and a lot of new players, as they move into the Outlands, will use that as an advantage to get into crystals too. And that'll be very interesting to see the number of 5v5s come mid-February.
That brings up a slightly different topic that I want to sort of discuss in public, which is the idea that come Queen and maybe come the next months, we sort of want to show more ZVZs potentially on the stream. And to do that, we always have the issue with giving away intel or positioning or numbers or sort of stuff that people who stream snipe potentially could use, and that the people who are being watched definitely will complain about, regardless of whether or not they received a disadvantage due to that. It's definitely a perceived issue, right? And I'm wondering about community feedback as to what is okay in terms of us spectating stuff.
Well, I have some ideas on that I'll share with you later, such as, well, I can share one of them. One of the things I would like to do is get a whole screen cover, Bogul, that only shows a little area around the one guy that we're following, so that we can see what's going on and nobody on the screen can see until a fight starts to happen. Once the fight starts to happen, then we can reveal more of the screen, because at that point, when there's a fight going on, you can't really say that we're the ones giving up the information on you, because your
depending on
opponent can
how
see
long
it
it
as well.
takes, then you're going into issues again, right? And of course, we can just get permission, right? We can always just get permission, or always just get somebody who is already streaming and then follow that guy because the information is already out there already. But I think there could be interesting things to cover for the official stream that we might have to change policy a little bit. And I wonder whether or not it's okay for us to just tell everybody that we quote unquote might be watching live. And then if you're doing ZVZ during this specific hour of the day, then there might be a chance we might be watching. And then it's just how it's going to be. but I don't know what the opinion is from the larger community in regards to that. And I think
Well, I
that's a
think if
discussion we
we
sort of need to start soon.
we do, but I think we should do as much as we can to protect against the stream sniping and to make it as mostly focused on fights as possible and not
Right,
show
yeah.
people while they're transporting, like walking around and just
Mm.
running around and trying to find the fights. As long as we can just keep it to the fights, I think we're fine. There's a question by Magic Fanboys. Could you talk a little bit about where to find information on who's qualified to sit on the round table and what exactly qualifies you? Well, the qualifications are pretty simple right now. I believe you have any guild that gets gold in the season can select a representative, as well as specific members of the community who have shown in the past the ability to contribute at a very high level to the community as a whole, either through suggestions, testing, or in our case, community interaction.
Yes, there is a thread on the forum. Actually, I can put in here the link. I hope that's up to date. I think it should be, because there was an iteration of this recently. Yeah, see, you get to be here because you're an affiliate, same as me. So that there is this official list of who is on the roundtable and who gets there. And if you want to read or comment to that, then you can go to that thread. And of course, if you have very strong opinions, then you should talk to Elsa or Methaseria directly, the community managers who have the power to decide and deny sort of the interest in joining that. Yes. Okay.
All right. Well, let's end this show and we'll come back for overtime and answer more questions. We already started doing the post-show answer question part of the show, but I feel like we need to move it on and get to the overtime and make it official. So let's do the call outs and say where they can find us. Bogul, you want to handle that?
Me? Sure. Well, here live on Twitch at 18 UTC every weekday, where we have the AO Daily Show for you. It's Shozen and I, and we discuss the latest news, some gossip, some community things that come up, and of course, anything you would like to send us to publicize to the world for you. And then later on, we will try to cut this episode up a little bit so you can listen to it later on your favorite podcast application. If you search for Albion TV or the AO Daily Show, you should find it there. Right now we had a little bit of a downtime getting all the episodes up, but we should have everything back in schedule by the end of the week, hopefully. And the locations are YouTube and SoundCloud /Albion TV. And of course, twitch.tv/Albion Online if you want to tune in live.
I can't get out of the camera, Bogul. I tried. Funstealer wants me gone and I can't do it. You've got it too zoned in on me.
There's also this halo around your thing, and I still need to figure out how to do this. I mean, we can just pretend you're overcharged with like Avalonian energy for a while.
I'm about to hit my Super Saiyan levels. I've been training hard.
Shozen is Avalonian confirmed, yeah.
Oh, snap. Yeah, in the OT, Bogul, we have something to give away. I totally forgot about this. So people are going to want to come back on this. Bogul, we're going to do another scavenger hunt. Do you want to do the scavenger hunt right now before we even go away?
No.
Okay. We're going to go away and then come do a scavenger hunt. I have an Avalonian sickle donated by Funstealer, who seems to think the gold isn't enough reason to show up. You need something better, guys. So when we come back, we're giving away an Avalonian sickle. I mean, that might be a reason enough to log in and stay in the show. I'll also be giving away 1750 when we go back. So let me archive this one.
Okay.
Create a new one.
Let's take about 1 or 2 minute break, maybe 3, depending on how long Shozen needs to do stuff. And then we will be right back getting ready for Albion Live starting at 19 UTC. And before, we will just chat a little bit with you guys on Twitch.
So. And give away a Avalonian sickle.
Yes. Special service by Funstealer and the Guild Conflict Props
Mhm.
and thank you. See you in a few minutes.